Welcome to Duck Season Somewhere podcast. This episode is brought to you by the following sponsors. GetDucks.com, your proven source for the very best waterfowl hunting adventures. Argentina, Mexico, 6 whole continents worth. For 2 decades, we've delivered real duck hunts for real duck hunters. And USHuntList.com, because the next great hunt is closer than you think. Search our database of proven U.S. and Canadian outfits. Contact them directly with confidence. Boss Shot Shell's copper-plated bismuth tin alloy is the good old days again. Steel shot's come a long way in the past 30 years, but will never, ever perform like good old-fashioned lead. Say goodbye to all that gimmicky, high recoil, compensation, science, hype, and hello to superior performance. Know your pattern. Take ethical shots. Make clean kills. That is the boss way. The good old days are now. It really is duck season somewhere for 365 days per year. Duck season somewhere takes me year-round to worldwide destinations where I visit with the most interesting people. I'm your host, Ramsey Russell. Join me here to listen to those conversations. Woo! Man, it is a hot day in June in Mississippi, but I'm in the air conditioning with my buddy BC Rogers of Wren Ivy. BC, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Ramsey. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you got here early. You said this morning you hadn't stepped outside. You hadn't realized it's summertime.
No, I got here early this morning and it was comfortable.
And it's such an interesting struggle for me because I'm usually in Argentina this time of year. I try to stay in duck season.
I know. I've been thinking about you this during this whole. I guess we're not quarantined now, but whatever we are.
I don't know what we are, man. This has gone from crazy to crazier. I don't know what the heck's going on. But I'm not traveling. I'm not traveling for the duck hunts this year, so I'm stuck at home. But
how long are you going to stay home?
Till the planes start flying. Man, you let them call and tell me tomorrow that planes flying somewhere this duck season, I'm gone. I'm telling you, I'm gone. But right now, the best I think Labor Day weekend is best I can tell. You know, talking to my partners down in South Africa, they're talking about October, November. They as a society, South Africa has health issues that make them real predisposed to this COVID stuff. Argentina, I'm going to say September on the early, March on the late, planes will start flying. But I think right now it looks like, fingers crossed, Canada's going to open up. We'll get to hunt in Canada and then Mexico. Well, I'm looking forward to going to Mexico. Hopefully by then Azerbaijan will be open. So I don't know, dude. It's scary.
I did not get to go to Mexico this past year. I went year before last, and that was one of the funnest hunts. Man, it was awesome.
I love it. It's close. It's familiar species.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, and all that good stuff.
Well, and we're so familiar. I mean, I spend a lot of time in Mexico anyway, but we're so familiar with the culture and the food, and it just feels it's awesome. It's a great trip.
Yeah, the place we hunt, one of our most popular places down there is Obregon, and they eat pork chop and steaks and chicken and fish and then on Thursday night, it's Mexican night. And it always just blows my mind to have Mexican night in Mexico.
Every day should be Mexican
food.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, where I went, it was Mexican food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Forrest does landscaping, and a lot of his co-workers are Mexican, and they took him to a spot about 2 years ago. Here, I think it's in Madison County, that is the real deal. I won't eat Mexican food in Mississippi.
Oh, because you're so used to the good stuff.
It's not really Mexican food.
Well, you know? I know what you mean, but if you order right, they'll make you the real stuff here too.
I guess I haven't found that restaurant yet.
I'm from Morton.
Morton, yeah. I've got plenty of them down there.
And the restaurants in Morton, I can assure you, are making real Mexican food for real Mexican people.
I'll go check that out.
Yeah,
Tex-Mex I like. I get to Arizona at times. I get down to Texas, South Texas, and I worked for years down in South Texas, and I didn't know what a dang enchilada was till I went down to South Texas. That's a real deal,
right,
man.
Right.
Well, the little old ladies would make them tortillas in the morning.
Absolutely.
And then, whew, that was good stuff.
Well, Morton's got 3,500 people in 3 Mexican restaurants, if that tells you anything.
All right, that ain't too far from the house.
No, it isn't.
I'm gonna have to check out Morton.
From you're on that side of town.
I'm gonna have to check out Morton. Tell me this. We were talking before we started recording, and wish we'd recorded a lot of that. That was a good conversation. But
that happens every time.
You're born and raised in Morton, Mississippi.
That's right.
But you grew up hunting in the Delta, and you were showing me some pictures from way back when.
Yeah. My mother is from Greenwood, and all my family, the Melton side of my family, are from Greenwood. And so my dad started duck hunting in '66 or '67 when he was in college, and grew up deer hunting, kind of like a lot of people from Central. He's from Morton. A lot of people from Central Mississippi. You grow up squirrel hunting, rabbit hunting, then deer hunting.
Right.
Particularly back then, because even I'm only 43, but because I've hunted my whole life, you tell people this now, like if you go deer hunting and you might hunt all weekend and not see a deer.
Right.
But people forget that. So my dad somehow got into duck hunting and just kind of got bit with it. And he was one of those early guys
that's easy to do.
Yeah, you can relate, huh? Yeah. I resemble that remark.
Yeah.
And then when he started dating and married my mom, she fell in love with it. And I've never known a time when the two of them weren't duck hunting together. My whole life, my mom has hunted almost every time my dad hunts. And it's unusual, but I didn't know any different. I didn't know that was unusual. I just assumed everybody's mama was.
Yeah, but back in the day, though, you brought up a good point. Back in the day, it seems to me in the 60s and 70s, I grew up in the 70s, that duck hunting was kind of a Delta thing.
It really was.
And if you wanted to deer hunt, you might be a few camps inside the levee, but most of you went to the hills to deer hunt.
And still they do. My friends, the Castles, they live right there outside Morgan City, and there's huge deer right there. They go to the hills for their deer camp, still to this day. It's just how they did it. And my uncles, they were in that. What was the name of that place? That was out inside the levee, one of those island places.
Yep.
And that was just kind of the culture. But you duck hunted in the Delta, and there was a lot of. And I don't have this affliction, and I make fun of my Melton cousins about it. They are not going unless you're going to burn them to the ground.
Right.
like if you don't have the limit by 8:15, my cousin Floyd is gone.
Really?
Oh yeah. Got to go to the office.
Yeah.
We make so much fun of them, but we go hunting. And, ducks are coming in twosies, threesies.
That's right.
And, it's beautiful. This couple years ago, I went with him, and we were on just a little flooded out, swathed out into a field, and we got in there, and of course, a pretty good number of ducks came right at daylight. We got some birds, and then they started trickling back, pairs, singles. I thought, man, this is going to be the greatest hunt of all time. About 8:15, he's out. Like, all right, I think it's about over. Like, Floyd,
that's full.
We just killed a duck 5 minutes ago.
8:15. That's when they start coming in.
Man, I make so much fun of the Delta guys. That's how they are, man. They're either going to burn them to the ground or they ain't going to go.
Golly, man, that's a blessing right there.
So that's how. It's a blessing if you accept that. Sometimes I don't get to go. I'm going to go regardless.
Me too.
But that's how we started it. We have a family duck camp that we spend, lots of time every weekend during duck season at least, and we go about once a month all year long, I guess. And it's just been part of our family tradition.
Yeah. You were showing me some pictures before we started recording. You were 4 years old in a duck blind in a break in a Mississippi Delta. What are some of your earliest memories of duck hunting? Because now I guarantee you a lot of folks listening, myself included, family. That's who got us into it. You can post up who. I love these threads on the internet. If you could hunt with somebody tomorrow, who would you hunt with? And 99% of the time, it's going to be a daddy or a granddaddy.
Yeah.
We all go back to our roots. But I'm just curious, growing up like you did, going through your pictures, man, and seeing them on your computer, all that old camo, You know what I'm saying? But what are some of the most indelible memories you've got growing up in the Delta hunting?
You know, for us, I don't really have memories of not being there. You know, I was going to the hunting camp every weekend during duck season before I could go. And I do this with Wren is my 7-year-old daughter and Ivy's my 4-year-old son. Oh, he just turned 5, my 5-year-old son.
Yeah.
Wren and Ivy, I do this too. What my parents would do is they would go hunting, and at about 8:30, 9 o'clock, they'd come back and get me and my sister. When we were real little, they wouldn't make us, go out and stay too long, get cold. Back then, man, there weren't any insulated boots in kid sizes. There weren't any,
It still got cold back in those days too.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe I certainly felt cold, and you saw those pictures. All we had is my dad would buy me a new pair of coveralls at the beginning of every hunting season, because I'd outgrown the last ones, and you'd put blue jeans and waffle long johns and everything you owned, and you'd still be freezing cold because none of it was any good, So anyway, they'd come back and get us, and my first memories would be working those late morning groups. My dad blowing duck call.
Oh yeah. Was your dad kind of the ringleader of the posse? Was he?
Oh, I don't know. He was the ringleader of our hunting group.
Right. That's what I meant.
There were 3 or 4 guys in our hunting camp that were sort of the leader of their little group. But my dad, it's usually just our family and our friends.
Right.
But one of my mentors, I laugh when I say that because he taught me a lot of good things and a lot of bad things, I think. But Fred Riley, who we both knew.
I know Mr. Fred. I knew him.
Yeah, Fred was usually hunting with Dad, and my friend and mentor Tom Scott also. But they would watching the two of them work ducks, watching Fred work dogs. When you're 5 years old and you see that dog, it may as well be a mythical dragon. Watching that dog jump out of a blind and go do all that. And Fred's dogs were doing stuff that it's become common now. But man, in 1985, dogs didn't do hand signals. Dogs didn't do the stuff that Fred's dogs were doing back then. People know about now, but that was very unusual.
Oh, it's become a huge industry. But no, you're right. That's how I know Fred was getting into labs, and I got lucky with the lab of a lifetime right out the gate, and joined a local retrieving club that Fred was the kingpin.
He is.
He was the godfather, and the man knew more about labs than they know about themselves.
If you didn't know that, you just ask him; he'd tell you.
He was. I was wondering when you said he hunted with your daddy if they ever had a difference of opinion or if their opinions ever varied.
But they did. But my dad is a very gentle, diplomatic person. They had a mutual respect that actually my dad may be one of Fred's only friends that Fred never ran off.
Really?
If you spend any time with Fred, you'd see people.
I loved him. See, I know he was a very polarizing figure, but I liked him. He liked me. We got along.
Even
just
the
fine.
people that hated him liked him, at different times. But he could really get on people's nerves, and I don't know if that's how you say it, but Dad's one of the only friends that Fred never ran off. But Dad's pretty cool with himself, and so he doesn't really need for people to affirm who he is.
Sure.
But watching that, being there with my family, those are my earliest duck hunting memories. My earliest hunting memories were more, and I still love squirrel hunt. I squirrel hunt all the time. But really, my dad started taking me squirrel hunting like where I barely walk.
I like to hunt, period. I will say that. Turkey hunting, I know you eat up with, like my son, and I'm not. I just don't have the bug and don't want it. I don't want another bug. But my son Duncan in high school got into squirrel hunting, maybe middle school. He just, for some reason, and I did too when I was a little boy.
Me too.
And so he wanted me to carry him out there, and here I was, a grown man, and all right, we'll go out here. Man, I fell in love with it because it felt like being a little boy again.
Right.
Getting out in those woods, he'd go his way, and I'd hear that 22, bam, bam, bam. And I'm telling you what, every time he shot, I could listen and hear something hit the ground.
I love that sound.
And I'm the hunter that just wants to go see it. I'll see it and stand until I see a squirrel, just a little out of, and I might try to move in on him. But,
right.
but that's just a lot of fun.
I enjoy it too, and I think that. In high school, I was all through college, I was very much into bow hunting for whitetails.
Me too.
And actually, Mike, and when I started Wren Ivy, I reached back out to Mike, and we would have lunch every 6 weeks, 2 months, and he gave me some fabulous advice as I've started the company, and I know y'all were friends. But when I was in high school, there was a group of us that hung out at Indian Archery, his company. Yeah. And they had upstairs. Did you ever go there?
Yeah.
Okay. They had a archery.
I lived there, man, only when they were open.
Well, same here. And we were probably there together. And as a matter of fact, like I another one of our mutual friends, B.T. Stedman, and I were talking about this the other day. And, he was a few years older than me. I was like 12 and they were like 16, and then, you were a few years older than them, but there was a culture there for a little while that we all just hung out there, and I was so eat up with that. But several years ago now, I kind of had to, when you hunt, you can't do everything once you have kids. So I do much less deer hunting than I used to.
I do too. To me, anymore, deer hunting really truly is just sitting out, playing on my phone, or reading a book.
Yeah.
And overlooking the green field.
Yeah.
But back in those days, I was into it, son. And I see these guys making 70, 80-yard shots. I don't believe in that, number one, but it defeats the purpose of deer hunting, number two. The thing about bow hunting. And I still got that old bow I bought from them boys back in the late 80s. And it throwed a rainbow at 37 yards. I'm going to tell you what, man. You had to be close. You had to be intimate with those deer.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of the same thing that appealed to me about duck hunting. I mean, I love to shoot, but it's that relationship. It's getting them in going and getting them in close, when you
communicating too. Like that's what turkey hunting. I'm actually, you've told me that you weren't really a big turkey hunter, and I'm actually surprised by that, because communicating with ducks, communicating with turkeys, and really, I mean,
it is. It's that relationship. I agree.
Yeah, you become part of their environment in a way that other types of hunting aren't as much.
You're talking to them. You're interacting with them. You got that relational thing going on because you can't talk deer. You figure them out. You look at his patterns. You look at his trails. You look at the flow of traffic. You find the bottleneck. You find the pinch point. You wait.
Right.
And duck hunting ain't so much that. Turkey hunting's not either. But now, basically, I don't have on the world's regular. I don't have time or inclination to go out in the woods when I'm home during turkey season. I don't need no more relationship with wildlife than I got. If I want to stay married, I'm very, very happily married.
I kind of have that with deer hunting right now at this stage of my life. Now, my son and daughter both are now wanting to go deer hunting, so I may get back into it more like I was if they want to do it. But I had to realize 7 years ago when Wren was born, and particularly 5 years ago when Ivy was born, that I can't hunt 50-something days of duck season and however many days of turkey season I hunt, and run a business and deer hunt. I was sitting in this office, I'm telling you, and I remember the day I decided. I was sitting in this office. My father-in-law has a fabulous deer place just not far, 20 minutes from here. And I'm welcome there anytime. We're very close. And I would be sitting in this office knowing I needed to work and wanting to deer hunt. And then I'd go deer hunt and I'd be sitting in the stand thinking, your dumb butt needs to be at the office. And so I said, I'm just going to give up this struggle and I'm going to say I ain't doing it anymore.
I know.
And that's when that changed for me. You talking about turkey hunting, but you've told me you've killed several turkeys. My dad has a similar story. Of course, he makes me mad when he says this. He's been turkey hunting 3 times and he's killed 3 turkeys.
Oh.
And he says there's no sport in it.
Yeah. Well, my real turkey hunting buddies tell me, they said, the reason you're not mad at turkeys because you ain't hunted the right one yet.
That may be true.
Don't
do it.
Yeah, no, I don't want to. I'm really, my turkey hunting experience is a lot like your daddy's. I've killed 10 turkeys and been all over the world, and I've got to get out west and shoot a Miriam's. And just like you're one away from the world, why not? But if I go to grave,
did you go to South America and kill oscillated?
I've shot ocellated down in Mexico.
God.
And that really to me was one of my favorite hunts, but it's not turkey hunting like
Right.
calling them in and doing all that.
So I've heard,
it's
I've
a
never
stalk. It's the environment. It's the jaguars in the jungle. It's the Mayan ruins. It's that bird. And the last time I went with a bunch of clients. Will you believe there were 6 clients and myself in camp, and in 3 days, and we tent camp out there. I mean, it's nice as can be for tent camp.
Sure.
But it's tent camp. It's out in the jungle, monkeys swinging through the vines and all that mess. You're just immersed in it. And I brought my camera and could have shot a few, but I was determined to get a picture of one, and that didn't happen. I mean, I can show you a picture with all these different kaleidoscopic colors out there in the trees. So you see that, and you go, yeah, that's a turkey. That's about to. I mean, it's
Right.
just so dog hair thick.
But
dense.
you didn't shoot one.
I didn't shoot one the last time I went. I've shot them in the past and loved it. It's really, it's a hunt, and I know people. I got a bunch of buddies that are eat up with turkey hunting. That, well, they can't call them, man, can't do this. They ain't gonna sneak one out of a tree. But man, sneaking up in them woods, and it's not a lush Tarzan swinging through the vine jungle. It's dry.
Huh.
It's dry. It's Mexico.
Right.
And
Yeah,
it's
but
dog
parts of
hair
Mexico-
thick, and walking through those woods silently, unless you're a native or a ghost, is impossible.
Right.
And it's the most challenging thing. To me, it's a lot more like capercaillie hunting, and that also just really appealed to me. But I'm just not a turkey hunter. The last time I went, Forrest taught me into going to Texas, and I got my Rio, but I was bored. Those turkeys were out there strutting, doing their things, and my phone would chirp. I'm like, God, I wonder who that is texting. I need to take a look at it. It just didn't.
See, I can't relate to that, but my dad feels the same way. You telling that story made me realize, as we've become closer and closer friends over the last few years, I realize that I'm not sure that you even are hooked on hunting. I think you're hooked on adventures.
That there's a lot of truth to that. I won't lie to you.
Because you seem to want to have, the guys that get really into whitetail hunting, for example, those guys like my father-in-law, he will go sit in the same spot for 70 days.
Yeah, no.
But you everything, the stories that you light up when you tell me about them is but when you're doing something you've never seen before.
That is what puts wind in my sails, is the newness of it all. I've got a trip planned this summer, had nothing whatsoever to do related to hunting, with a buddy of mine that don't hunt. The only time he's ever hunted was with me. Come to Mississippi one time just to hunt with me. We were college roommates. And he's from Rochester, New York. And I was describing to him just a little while ago before I drove up here, about what I do and where I go. And it's like, I do love to duck hunt. And I love those hunts. I hate to say it, but anymore, when I'm by myself, and it's not just a ducks coming in everywhere, bang, bang, bang. It's the hunts where I've got to be, like Azerbaijan this year. I shoot 15, 20 ducks a day, but you couldn't get that if you weren't hyper-focused, looking downwind, not blinking your eyes, and sweeping the sky when they came in. You had to play a perfect game. That is what gets me on the hunting side anymore.
Yeah, I got you.
Going out with a bunch of buddies, I do that. I go out with folks, and we just have a good time. And
Sure.
But boy, but man, really, what I love, and like the places I want to go yet in the United States and abroad, it's as much about the food and the culture and that whole backdrop. That's really and truly, it just turns me on, man. I love it, especially
I can relate.
since I'm wearing waders and carrying a shotgun. That's what's so cool about it.
Well, the connection you make with people, and I'm not a golfer, but I hear that golf is this way. I know that fishing can be this way from personal experience, but nothing to me is more connecting than a duck hunt. When you duck hunt with somebody, you're almost always going to be friends with that person, and really forever.
Absolutely.
And if you go on a duck hunting trip with somebody, you have a connection with that person. You'll run into them years later, and you're buddies.
You're right about that. I had this conversation with a duck guide down in Texas this year. Forrest and I showed up. We mixed it up with a lot of his clients and had a great time. Made a lot of friends. Added a lot of numbers to our Rolodex, and just had just like you described. But he and I were riding back to the car, and we were talking about all these unpolite people. I don't want to say another bad word, but all these just people in social media, the negativity, and I'm like, social media does something. It's an antisocial app, but because I don't meet those people in a duck blind.
Right.
I've never hunted with one of them. I mean, they're all just nice, genuine people. They got dogs and kids and jobs and passions.
There's an element of judgmental nature that is elevated by some social media platforms.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important, and I think we do this in person. But I hope that we can change social media to be more this way. Although I've had very little bad experiences with social media personally. We can't turn on each other. No. When the two of us live in Mississippi, and all of our buddies are hunters, and most of our buddies are duck hunters, and we don't know anybody that probably has a problem with us being duck hunters because we live where we live. But we need to remember, and of course you get all over the world, so you see this, but we need to remember as a community that is very rare. We are a very small group of people, and we start judging each other and turning on each other.
United we stand, divided we fall. We're all on this thing together,
And if somebody wants to do something a certain way, and it's ethical and it's inside the regs, I say have at it.
I'm with you.
It may not be the way I prefer to do it, but when we start judging each other as a tiny little community, man, we're going to be in big trouble.
You're right.
So
hey, let's go back to the break a minute. Let's go back to the break because I'm sitting here thinking about this 4-year-old little boy, and you got all those pictures scanned in, and I really enjoyed that because here we are in the year 2020, and there's a million different camo patterns to choose from. But back then you had one.
That's right. Woodland.
And y'all were all wearing the same
came
one.
In 2 colors. You could get the green version or the brown version.
That's right. And then somewhere around your junior high school, your freshman year in high school, bam, there's BC Rogers wearing brand new mossy oak.
Yep. I'll tell you that story real quick. There was a guy named Bill Seagraves who also was my Boy Scout leader. He was our Boy Scout troop leader. And he owned the local military surplus store, which was a military surplus store, but it was really our hunting store. It's where you bought all of your hunting stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the year that Toxie Hayes, Mr. Hayes, came out with Bottomland, he was riding around, he and a couple guys who, I don't know these guys, they're not friends of mine, so I don't want to act like I'm familiar, but I've heard the story that they were riding around like just selling to any store they could. Well, Bill's Military Surplus was one of their accounts that opened that first year. And I remember walking into Bill's Surplus store, and he had they didn't make anything but a shirt and pair of pants. Maybe there was a hat or something. And it was like, a shot of lightning. All of us were like, man, look at this. You disappear in this.
You did.
And we all had to have it.
You were talking about Mike Morgan and them boys up there at Indian Archery a little while ago, and that's where I met. The first time I ever laid eyes on I'm like, holy cow.
That was the first place you ever saw mossy oak?
First time I ever saw it.
Okay. And now I remember, I can't remember. Do you remember tree bark camo?
I do.
It was more of a gray color.
Yeah.
I can't remember if tree bark was out right before mossy oak or if mossy oak was right before tree bark. But
tree bark came first.
Okay.
Well, I guess it was. It was that old sitting in a pine tree in a deer stand. You would blend in it. It was very good.
But I remember there being, and I think this still goes on, like between mossy oak and real tree now today. But there was like a debate in Scott County, like, well, I don't know, you want that mossy oak or you want that tree bark?
That's right. Man, that is, that's reaching on back in the annals of time.
And I don't know, what year would that have been?
That would have been the mid to late 80s, because Indian Archery had a archery store, though they were turkey hunters.
Absolutely.
And they used to have the owl hooting contest and the turkey calling contest.
Sure.
And old Bob Westerfield always judged it.
Right.
And I won. I was so proud. I won a door prize, and I won a mossy oak turkey blind, which at the time they had about a 4-foot wide bolt of fabric.
I still have it.
I want about an 8-foot length of it with 4 poles, and that was my turkey blanket.
Oh, no,
I didn't what I want. I wanted that one-piece jumpsuit.
Oh, nice.
And I went there and said something to Mike. He's like, "Well, boy, that man's leaving. You better go grab him." And as I remember, Toxie, that's the only time I guess I ever met him. And I recall he was driving a station wagon of sorts. And I called him. He was about to pack up. And I introduced myself and said, "Could I swap?" He said, "Absolutely."
Yeah.
And I wore that daggum thing like bust the seams on it.
Oh,
man.
absolutely. Yeah. That my first. You saw a picture of my first outfit was just a shirt and pants. And that's just how we did it. My first hunting coat though were solid colors because they didn't make camouflage for little bitty kids.
Right.
But somebody, look at this right here. Grab that book. Somebody today came by the shop here.
Look at that,
It's
boy.
called the Old Pro Turkey Hunter. This guy's from Mississippi, Jack Dudley.
Yeah.
Somebody dropped this book off today, and I don't even know who it was. I was on a call, and they
Wow.
came, and I guess they're going to call me and tell me who got it. But isn't that, and look, it's signed by him in 1980 right there.
Gene Nunnery.
Yeah.
I think he's from Greenville.
Is he?
I would guess he was.
Well, I've seen that book. The one I've been trying to track down. There was a guy from Greenwood that wrote a book called Tall Timber Gabriels. Have you ever seen that book? My mom being from Greenwood, I've been trying to track that book down for years, and I can't find it. I've got my feelers out for it. So if you find a copy, I want it.
I will. I did hear yesterday was the day Billy Joe jumped off the Tallahatchie Bridge.
That's right.
I know being from Greenwood, you heard that story.
I saw several of my Greenwood friends posted a picture of the plaque that they have there by the Tallahatchie Bridge. Right
Ain't that something?
Yeah.
How did you go? I know how you grew up. I know, Delta boy. And practically, 'cause all the good times you grew up was in the Delta. But
yeah, they would not claim me though. So just be careful saying that.
I know.
And what's real funny is I'm from a tiny little town, Morton, Mississippi. But my cousins from Greenwood still say he's from Jackson.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute, y'all live in a throbbing metropolis compared to my hometown. Y'all telling me I'm from Jackson?
No doubt. Where's the? How did you go from? How did Wren and Ivy begin? How did you go from there to here?
Well, first of all, when you tell these stories after they've happened, it sounds like you had a plan.
Yeah, right.
That has not been how my life has happened. My life has been a sequence of God slamming closed every door He did not want me to walk through and leaving one open.
That's a good description.
And I stupidly walked through that door because it's the only one open, and that's how my path has been. There's never been a plan. I don't have a plan today. I wake up every day and try to do the next thing He wants me to do. But what happened in hindsight, I'll tell you what it sounds like a story with a plan. We have a gift shop here in Madison called Persnickety, and I was working in the gift shop, and we sold a luggage company, and I got to be buddies with the guy who made that luggage. And I asked him to build me a ditty bag to duck hunt with. I couldn't find exactly what I was looking for, and he wouldn't do it. And I asked him to build me a shotgun case that had a pocket on the side that would hold all my choke tubes and a little cleaning kit.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't find one that just like what I wanted, and he wouldn't do it.
Did you want a specific material?
Yeah. Well, they're now called the heirloom ditty bag, the heritage blind bag, the fowling piece case. Those are the products that I asked him to build me, but he wouldn't do it. And the third one was my shell belt. We call it the shooting shell belt. I never understood why his shell belt wasn't split in two, so the shells would be in the front and nothing would be in the back.
Right.
Okay. And so I asked him to build me that, and he wouldn't do it. And after the third thing, he said, but these are pretty good ideas. You should just go build them yourself. Well, I now know I'm still very close friends with this person, and I now know he was blowing me off. He was trying. He's like, because he knew what I didn't know, that you can't just go do that. But I didn't know that at the time, and it's crazy what you can do if you don't know you can't.
Right.
And so,
ain't that the truth?
That was the sort of the genesis of it, and I made. The first prototypes, and then we built the first run was 50, and I found a manufacturer, And locally, we built the prototypes, and then found a manufacturer who was hand making every piece, but could do it on a larger scale. And we built the first 50 and of the 3 products, and I sold those 50 before they started making them. And I called the guy back and I said, look, I need to order 50 more. And I sold that 50 before the 100 was made. And I called him back and said, I need to order 50 more. Now, our ditty bag is $385. So these are not inexpensive bags. They're expensive to build. The materials are expensive, and it ends up being a high dollar item. And he called me back and he said, hey, you sold 150 of these things? And I said, yeah. He said, you got any other ideas? I said, yeah, I got a lot.
Were you selling them at persnickety?
At that time, I was, I've always just been a big duck hunter. And so I have a lot of big duck hunting friends, and I take a lot of people duck hunting, and I was just calling people I knew and saying, hey, I designed a duck hunting bag and a gun case. You want one? And that's how. Yeah, they call that picking low hanging fruit, I think. But
yeah.
And so that's how the first product line came out in. That was in 2015, but we didn't actually get product until May of 2016.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so I mean recent, and it just. I didn't know. All this started out because I couldn't find what I wanted.
Right.
And that's still what I try to. Everything I design. We're working on the stuff to come out in the fall right now. Everything I design, I try to say, okay, what would I want different about what's available, and I try to design from that standpoint.
Do you think your ideal of product, like you're just trying to describe what you want, where does your past fit into that? Those men you grew up with out there on the break.
Yeah, I was always connected to this sort of vintage materials, sort of a heirloom quality work, leather and canvas and solid brass. I was always connected to, I've had to sort of identify why that was, because I'm in that business now, but I never really knew why I was connected to it. But so much of those experiences are tied to the people who taught you and the people that you looked up to. My uncles were a big influence on me. Some of my dad's friends, Ray Riley and others, Tom Brown, these guys, they would take me hunting as much as my dad did.
Right.
And I would think back on, as you get older, you start thinking, man, remember that bag that Tom Brown had, or that kind of stuff. And that's how the product line. When I started, I said, okay, when you see a Wren Ivy bag, my design process is I want you to see that bag and think that bag could be from 1935 or 2020 from the outside. But when you open it and start using it, I want it to function based on what we've learned over that time period. So there needs to be a place for your cell phone. There might need to be a waterproof pocket here or an insulated pocket there. There needs to be a functional shoulder strap. Some of that older stuff is really just a canvas bucket.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And we got a lot more gear to take care of. It's all pretty expensive now, and you need more than that. So my functionality is a little different.
As you were telling that story, I was thinking of my granddad, and I wonder what happened to that bag. I was sitting here wondering, I wonder what happened to that bag. Maybe my uncle had it, but he had a hunting bag that was literally a zip up, I'm gonna say 3 foot long, olive drab military grade duffel.
Okay.
And that went to the blind with him. It went in back of the Bronco. It went everywhere he went. And I had a toilet paper and a snake bite kit and extra socks and extra long johns and extra cap and extra Johnny warmers. It was everything a man needed.
Right. And it went in the boat.
And if you fell in, he had socks for you. I mean, that was he was a Boy Scout,
Right.
But it was a big old bag. But as you were describing it, I think back to my origins and to my to that era. Back in the 60s and 70s, and how practical they were, and they did shop at Army surplus, or just reached in the closet and grabbed out their Army coat.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
and everything they
their Army
used
rifle.
was leather and canvas.
Right.
You know, that's what they used. And my first hunting coat was my grandmother, because I was just a child and she was a small woman, but it was just a canvas coat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's mine too. Luckily, I was starting in the early mid '80s, and so things were changing drastically right then. But that, to answer your question fully, that's why I think that there are a lot of people from all age groups that have looked up to those people. I mean, you grow up reading Nash Buckingham and seeing his picture if you're from Mississippi, and just part of you wants to connect with that.
Right.
And one of the ways I refer to our hunting bags, and really our travel bags too, as it's like a totem. It's a symbol. Now, materialism is gross, right? It's not about it being fancy or how much it costs or any of that. It's about how long it lasts, so that it can be a symbol of all of those experiences.
Value, practical.
Yes, and when you see your grandfather's bag, it could be made of anything. It has nothing to do with that bag. It's a symbol of what your grandfather was trying to accomplish, and that's what I think about when I design my bags. When I want you to go on that trip with your family, and I want your kids to have seen that you have our duffel bag.
Oh yeah.
Wellington Lodge duffel, we call it. I want people to see that and say, I remember that thing is part of the memory, but the memory isn't important. The thing is not.
Yeah. That's very interesting you said that. I used to have this old duck strap. I got to tell this story. And there was a guy up in Nebraska, I believe, hunting on the Missouri River. And he was on the old chat room this 20 years ago, and he made duck straps. And before I ordered one, he had swapped to a camo impregnated version of leather duck strap. And
okay.
I wanted the leather. I wanted that leather duck strap. I called him up and he said, well, I don't have any. All I got is camo. And I just said, man, I don't believe you've been doing this for 10 years. Don't tell me you ain't got no leather stuck away. So I mean, I want leather.
Right.
So it's kind of what you're saying about, my granddad used leather.
Yes.
I wanted that leather that got character, and he said, I got to tell y'all the story. So y'all bear with me. He says, well, let me tell you the story. He said, I said, okay, I'll listen to you. And he said, he started telling me about his dog. He had a dog named Callie, a lab, and they hunted on the Missouri River. And as he described where their blind was located, it hunted north and south winds in the bend of a river, Canada geese, mallards galore, and she developed cancer, and it crushed him because he dog of a lifetime, and he had a bunch of his friends get together. Of course, it was summertime. The river was down. There was sandbar beneath the blind. And in the shadow of a blind, they grilled out hamburgers and hot dogs, and all his closest friends and duck hunting buddies came over. And they pitched a few bumpers to the dog, and on the third retrieve, she could barely crawl out. The cancer done eat her up, and the vet stepped in and gave her a shot, and they buried her right there under the blind.
God.
And he said, you know what, I bought the best. I bought this leather, this bridle leather, this English bridle leather, and I got all these accoutrements, I got all this stuff, and I put it together and to commemorate this dog and this day. And I don't remember who it was that didn't show up, but he said, and that son of a bitch ain't getting one. If you want to buy it, you can have it. Man, I'd have walked to Nebraska after hearing that story.
That's
a true story.
Where is that strap?
Well, that's what I was getting at. How you talking about people, what you remember.
Yeah.
Now, it's not the product and just the functionality. So one day, we were hunting at Willowbreak, and my son Duncan was 12 or 13 years old, and he had just gotten to the point that if you were patient with him, he could knock out his own limit.
Okay.
And he did that morning. We shot, I think we shot 2 mallards and a bunch of ringnecks. And he saw that strap hanging up. His duck's on one side, mine on the other. And And he said, I want a strap like that one day. Well, I told him that story. And I said, well, you know, you have to wait till I die. Because this strap been all over the world now. It had all the brass and all the stuff and weighed a ton, but I took it everywhere. Matter of fact, I forgot the thing in Uruguay one time. And I about broke the phone bill calling the folks saying, I'm going to kill you if you don't mail this thing back. And they did. And but he said, no, if I ever get that strap, because I've seen you hunt with it your whole life, I'm going to hang it up and put it in a safe place. And when he said that, I think I hunted with it the next day. And then I hung it up in my game room.
Is it there?
It's there.
Oh, yeah.
I hung it up, you know, and because I was thinking, holy cow, things we take for granted, a duffel bag, a blind bag.
Yeah.
And, you know, it speaks to me what you're saying, because I'm that guy, if I buy a watch and I like it, I'm going to wear it for the next 40 years.
Sure.
You know, my gun, I don't know, it's just, you know, you think about all these things as gear, it's like a hammer, a carpenter's hammer. I want to use my hammer though. I get attached to things like that because of the past, because of the story, because of where they've been.
But it's right, but it's not.
Because who they connect me to.
It's not about the thing. At that
it's
point,
not. It's not. That's right.
Right.
You nailed it.
Being a premium brand, a high end brand, you know, I think that's is so important to me that is said. It's not about the thing. The thing is built to last so that you can put memories around the thing. The physical thing.
I've had that overnight bag, and it's a big, good overnight bag. I've had it several years now, and it hadn't even. It looked brand new.
Thank you. I honestly think. I mean, I say this all the time, but I really do think those materials, leather, canvas, solid brass. If you take care of it, just like a saddle, there's nothing prettier than a 100-year-old saddle that's always been taken care of. You know, and that's why I built it out of the materials I did. If you take care of it, and I don't mean you have to baby it, because you absolutely do not. But if once a year, you know, you clean it up and you maybe put a little wax on the canvas or put a little saddle soap or something on the leather, it'll last forever and it'll look better than it did when you first got it.
Right. Why when you got into, I get it because of your past, because of your upbringing, that's what we're talking about, but for you to get into the outdoor world, and I'm seeing this, it's funny, when I look at your computer from, golly, 25 years ago with all those pictures you were showing me, how you and how the industry has started running this big full circle. Yeah. You know, since the days you grew up hunting wearing brown or green camo, just like myself,
right,
or grandmama's old canvas coat, to now, I mean, all the different flavors and technologies and stuff like that, and it has in a lot of ways. To me, the hunting industry has in a lot of ways. Parts of it have become disposable.
It has, but
parts of it have become fashionable. But
humbly, I think that it is that we're almost. There's two schools right now. There's the disposable school that got, you know, it's a $19 gun case, and you know what? That's okay. If that's where your budget is,
sure.
And if you and you know, I sell a $400 gun case. You can buy $19 gun cases for the rest of your life and maybe never get to $400.
I got a $19 Dove vest in green camo I've had since high school, though.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, well, but that's different because things were built differently back then. But there's that school of sort of disposable stuff, but it's less expensive than it's ever been. And then there's this new school of, you know, Wren Ivy. Sitka is a great example. It's made from, you know, ballistic nylon, you know, modern materials, but it definitely has its place.
Definitely.
If I'm going on a sheep hunt, you think I'm going to take a canvas and leather bag?
Heck no.
No, of course not. So no. As long as it's made well, it still can be that totem. It still can last. But and luckily, the Wren Ivy door opened for me at a time where people started to realize I'm willing to pay for something I can keep a little longer. Part of that is that younger people they're tired of having to replace things, and they're tired of putting them in a landfill. And you know, some of the modern gear is also built in a real high quality. You know,
the brands you named are high quality.
They are, and that stuff's going to last.
If I can buy a pair of waders one time, And them last me for the next 10 years. That's a whole lot of shotgun shells I can buy instead of having waders at an annual expense.
Well,
that's how I look at it.
The problem of finding something that fits you well, that holds your stuff well, that works well for the way you like to hunt, there's the money is one part of it, but also just the time of trying to find that thing. If you find that thing and it's going to last you, it makes sense to do it.
Yeah.
To me.
I agree. What next for Wren and Ivy? That's what I'm trying to think. Where now?
Well, this year has been really.
This year was a stick in the spoke for everybody. Sure.
An interesting year. We're interestingly, we've done very well through this time, but new product development has been challenging because we've had to shut down our manufacturing for 3 months.
Yeah.
And now, but I've got some pretty exciting things coming this year, on both on the hunting side and the travel side. My friend Jimbo Ronquist is working with me on a product that I'm really excited about.
Good.
My friend Josh Raggio is working with me on a product that I'm really excited about, and on the hunting side. And then
I'm going to record him tomorrow, by the way.
Oh,
yeah.
are you?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I talked to him last night. And then on the travel side, I've got a couple items that are going to fill a niche that we don't fill, and I think fill a niche that's not. In some cases, it's not even out there. I'm really excited, and I'm most excited because had it gone on much longer, we weren't going to have time to get those new products done. I got a set of prototypes in first this week, and it's very rare that I build one prototype. It's usually 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And one of them, it was like, okay, boys, you did it.
I can tell you're excited for it.
I am very excited about 2020. Yes.
I got another question for you. I met you probably the year after y'all started. We were Nita and I went down to New Orleans, and there was a hunting show down there, and that's where I met you and your wife in the booth. Very you always got a very beautiful booth. I like that.
Oh, thank you. You too.
You really do. And you've got my wife is my partner. She's the brains of the operation. I'm gonna tell you right now, she is the brains of the operation. And a lot of my repeat clients skip me all together. They just go to her and say, "Hey, put me back on that hunt. I don't need to talk to Randy."
Yeah.
And where do y'all partition the roles? I mean, that's what I'm trying to ask, because that's
about who does
she's
what
your life partner and she's your business partner, but
I was just talking to.
I see parts of her what I think to be her expressed in y'all's displays and stuff like that.
No question. My wife has a design background and a merchandising background, so she has been an enormous contributor to that part. She doesn't do much of the design of new products, although she probably could do it better than me, particularly on the travel side. But there's really not, you know what, I grew up in a family business. My grandfather, my great-grandfather, we've just have had nothing but family businesses my whole life. In a family business, you don't have job description.
Right.
You know, you're the
you're
the
right.
lead toilet cleaner. This year I've been the lunch lady and the homeschool janitor.
Yeah.
Is what I've been, because my wife turned into a school teacher. This year because we had to take them home. But no, we don't have. Kim and I do not have defined roles. And I don't know, maybe it'd be better if we did, but we just do whatever needs to be done next.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's how you
that is a lot of how it is, but when it comes to the front guy stuff, I love people. I love being in front of people. I love telling duck hunting stories.
Yeah.
And my wife, she likes. Don't ask me why. She likes the number type stuff, the organization. I'm big picture, and she's fine detail. And we don't set out saying who's going to do what. It just happens that way.
Well, Kim and I are both very similar we're both people, and so I'm sure that you got lucky on that, because we're actually her strengths and my strengths are really in line with one another. Unlike some teams, but so we have to bring in people that are good at the stuff that we're not so good at. But I think there's just one big bucket of tasks that need to happen, and we do the next thing that has to be done.
I feel blessed a lot of times that my life partner is my business partner.
I do too. The challenges that come with being in a family business are far overshadowed by the benefits.
I agree.
And actually, you just missed Kim and Wren and Ivy were here 10 minutes before you got here, and it's just been an enormous blessing to have my kids. You know, Ivy wasn't born when I named the company.
Oh.
Kim was pregnant with Ivy when I
did not know
named
that.
the company. But of course, I named the company Wren and Ivy when I made those first prototypes for me. I just put a Wren and Ivy on it. I didn't know I was naming a company.
Wow.
I just said, well, I'm gonna call this Wren and Ivy because that's my kids' names.
Yeah.
So
y'all are very family oriented. I know I see you in social media, and when y'all are now when you and Kim are at the break, y'all are at the break usually, your whole family.
Oh yeah. But that was always the case. I learned that from my parents, so I can't take any credit for that. It's always been, and my dad was such a great example of, he prioritized spending time with us.
Sure.
And I don't know that I would be. Well, I used to run hunt test and field trials. I don't do that at all anymore. Because I don't think my wife or my kids would enjoy going out there all day, every day. If they ever did, I'd do it again, okay? But I want to do things that they want to do. And I've been real lucky that they want to do things I like to do. But I don't care if my kids become big hunters.
Right.
That'd be great. But if they want to, if I'm going to get into whatever they want to get
I'm
into.
going to spend a lot more time with them if they hunt, is what I told them. But I support them on doing whatever they want to do, because
Absolutely.
people got to find themselves.
Well, I mean, so far, both of my kids like to go and have enjoyed it. But
are they hunting themselves now?
Yes, but they don't carry guns yet. This year I bought Ivy a 410. Well, I bought both of them a 410, and I was thinking about taking them turkey hunting, but they really just weren't quite ready.
Right.
And not because they couldn't sit still, or I don't care about that. If you mess up a turkey hunt, I don't care. But they just weren't. I don't want to take them if it's going to be a bad experience. I can take them out duck hunting, and it's fun, and we're drinking hot chocolate and eating candy bars, and they think it's the greatest thing in the world. So part of that selfish on my part. I don't want to take them on a hard
Don't. I tell everybody, don't do that, man. If you're going to take your children, especially to a duck blind, you've got to make it about them.
And
they're going to get cold. They might get wet. I mean, you and I take for granted the dog shaking off and getting everything wet. Kids don't, man.
No
kidding. And if they don't enjoy it, they're not going to want to go back.
And that's my goal. But we have a couple things we've done. We don't take the kids. Neither one of my kids have been in the dark yet. They had we're blessed to have this place where I can go back and get them pretty easily.
Right.
Actually, Cypress Bend, my brother-in-law and my best friend's place that's in Tallahatchie County is that way too. I can go back and get them, and so we just decided early on, and they're almost ready. But the worst things that ever happened to you on a hunt usually happened headed out there in the dark.
Yeah.
And so early on, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna we go, and then we come back and get them for the later stuff. And also,
I think that's great, man.
And little things like that. It's been so far it's worked. I don't know. Like I told you, I don't necessarily have a plan, but it's working out.
Sometimes that's the best way. That get ducks started completely by accident. I mean, it's just we found ourselves and found our footing, and just one thing led to another. And boy, the way you described it about all the doors getting shut and just kind of leading you through a rat maze to one that's open, it's worked out so far.
Well, you said you were talking about. I'm gonna circle back to something because I'm interested to hear what you have to say about this. You were talking about shows, and you and I have been at a lot of shows together and have had fun hanging out doing that. With all the shows shut down this year, that's been a real a loss for me, not financially, but spending time with my customers and meeting new people. I have so missed that.
Yeah, I have too. And really and truly, I've not yet missed any. Right now, Texas Trophy Hunter down in Houston, Texas. That's the one I go to. As far as I know, it's open.
It is. That's the first week of July?
First week of August.
July, yeah.
And I know that, boy, I tell you, I went to the Great Outdoor Show, which from what I've heard is not near what it used to be, but it is still an incredible show. Up in Minnesota. I had, look, I've got a lot of clients, got a lot of friends from Minnesota.
Yeah.
I had no idea they were eat up with duck. I mean, they may have more duck hunters than anybody on earth. And it's such a good and big and outdoor show, but it closed this year. And we got a letter from them yesterday, and we just went ahead and rolled it into next year because I'm not going to miss that show. It's too much fun. The people are so nice. The country's so beautiful.
Well, we lost a lot of them. The Ducks Unlimited show, the
Ducks
Expo.
Wow. I was looking forward to that.
So looking forward to that one. And we do the NRA show, which is huge.
Oh, it
70,000 people. And that's one of my favorite shows because we're direct to consumer. We don't, I don't go to SHOT Show, and I don't do a lot of those industry type shows. So the NRA convention is a time when I get to see a lot of people from the industry, and that's always something we look forward to.
I know.
So it's been a real loss for us to not be able to spend time with people. We miss our interaction with our customers.
I do too, and I'm fingers crossed. Canadian border opens this fall. Fingers crossed. Safari Club International and Dallas Safari Club. I love the shows. I've got a lot of friends there now.
Right.
And I go as much for that. And that it's just like the more people and the more people I meet, the more contact I make. It's like Popeye and his spinach. It just that momentum gets to going, and it's such a great energy. And I talk for a living, but the stories I get to hear while I'm sitting in there, it's just important to me.
And for me, the product feedback that I get to hear.
Absolutely.
Is it working? Should something be different? That's where I hear it, because when people, sometimes you'll get that from social media or somebody sends you an email, but most of the time somebody's not going to tell you, hey, this zipper needs to be a little higher.
Right.
But if you get them face to face, they go, I've been thinking, have you ever thought about moving this zipper over?
Yeah.
Man, that stuff is vital for us.
Sure it is.
To be able to keep our products exactly the way our customers need it. And, people duck hunt and travel differently in different areas all over the country.
Duck hunting and travel is very subjective.
Yes. And
what I think about a particular duck hunt is one thing. It's what my clients think that matters.
Right. And the same translates to my gear. If you hunt completely different in Oklahoma than you do in Greenwood. And I want to know, all right, so I didn't know that you needed that pocket, but now that I know, I can put it on there.
Yeah.
And we've lost some of that interaction with not doing the shows. Everything's canceled through the end of July right now. But it does seem like we may be back out with everybody.
I sure hope. And I always carry I always use hand sanitizer because it's flu season, cold season, upper respiratory infection, during the winter time. But I just don't know how I'm gonna feel about wearing a mask and rubber gloves and all that mess. But I can tell you right now, if convention were tomorrow, I'd be there.
And if they make me wear a mask, I'm happy to do it. To be able to be there with my customers and friends, I'll do whatever
I'll do it if I have to, but I pray that's not the case.
And it seems that
I like smiles. I like to smile.
Yeah,
I want to see your smile, man.
I know. I don't know how that's going to work, but I'm going to make it work however I have to make it work. And I try to be respectful. We ran into each other the other day, and I told you this. I try to be respectful of what makes other people comfortable.
Right.
I'm not really a political guy anyway, but I'm certainly not trying to make a political statement about any of that. If it makes somebody feel comfortable for me to be in the booth with latex gloves on, that'd be fine. I've done worse.
Of course, but I just don't want to. I don't want to see humanity get to that. I guess that's what I'm saying.
I don't think that's going to happen, Ramsey.
I hope you're right.
I really don't. I think that this thing, as tragic as it's been, is going to pass, and we're going to get back to being able to spend time with our friends and our customers.
I tell you one thing on the upside I've noticed is, for example, I saw you at the garden center the other day, and the break's been good. Everybody I've talked to has enjoyed just a little bit of that break. And I have done some things I might not ordinarily have done, but we're right in the middle of a website rebuild. It's freaking old. It's green shag carpet old, our website is. And so we're taking a break to get it done. But the guy called me yesterday, and I've seen this. Business hadn't been dead. It hadn't been flat.
Right.
People are thinking, okay, I'm ready to get outside this house. I'm ready to get outside. I'm ready for the world to open back up. And I see, but he told me yesterday that the U.S. hunt list, he said nuclear was the word he used. He says the traffic is unfreaking believable. The people going through, coming to U.S. hunt list, which tells me everybody's ready to get out.
Our sales have been good during that time period, and I attribute that to people who are sitting at home. We're direct to consumer. They can go to wrenandivy.com and they can look at all of our gear. They can contact me, and most of the time, I'm the person that emails you back.
Right.
You know, there's I've seen the same thing. I think that there's pent up desire to get out and get back in the woods. Of course, the poor eastern turkeys of Scott County. It's going to take years for them to recover. Every one of my friends hunted every day, and
I heard that from everybody.
And I got stuff off my honey-do list that I am not exaggerating. Been on there for 6 years.
Yeah.
And for me personally, this couldn't have come at a better time. For the last 5 years since I started running Ivy, I've been gone at least 1 week a month,
right,
doing shows and traveling for manufacturing and different things. My kids are 7 and 5, and I've eaten 3 meals a day with them since March 13th.
Amen.
And here we are, June 3rd, June 4th, and I've spent an enormous amount of time with my kids. That I think, honestly, I think my children will look back at this pandemic as some of the best times of their life, and I know I will.
Yeah. I don't disagree at all. Now here's something funny. I don't know if it's a, Tiger King. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. Some things
but
you can't take
you watched
back.
It.
I watched it. Pandemic. But then the other thing about the pandemic was Garrett Walker, who episode aired today. He said something about TikTok, and I'm thinking, what the heck is TikTok?
You don't know what it is?
Oh, I do now.
Oh, don't click on it. You won't turn it off.
I'm like, holy. But
It's
I find myself laughing absurdly. I mean, now look, it's a whole lot of girls doing the same little thing.
Oh,
but if you keep scrolling, you find these nuggets. And one thing I noticed that I'm like, holy cow! Look at these freaking families
dancing,
spending time together, mom and dad and kids. Like Andy Griffith.
Absolutely. Well, look, you said Andy Griffith. It reminded me. My neighborhood has been like Mayberry, man. Everybody, the mamas, daddies, and kids are all at home. They're riding their bikes. Now, we were real safe about that. We told the kids, look, y'all stay 6 feet apart, but if you're riding your bikes, don't touch each other. Now we've laxed off on that because we just didn't know.
Right.
In March, man, we didn't know. They were talking about it was going to kill 2.5 million people. And,
yeah, I know.
But it's been like Mayberry. I put to the point that there were so many kids in our neighborhood playing in the yard and just around all the time. I went and bought the water cooler we used to carry on the back of our work trucks.
Right.
I went and bought a water cooler with a cup dispenser on it, and I put a bag of ice in it every morning. They're on my front porch drinking ice cold water. It's like Mayberry.
It's like Mayberry.
Yeah, we have have a glass
That's
of wine
a good thing
in the driveway. In the afternoons, it has been great, and I think we've all had to reevaluate what was important. And been forced to see where we were wasting time. I know that I have done that in a big way. And wasting money, which is really the same.
Boy, I can tell you this. That brings up a whole new point. It's just wow, the money, just the stupid money you're spending when the world's spending. But you're on that freaking conveyor belt, just running all the time.
Exactly.
It's helped me redefine some priorities of what is really important.
It really has for me too, and I don't know. I will be aware of it. I mean, we'll go back to a lot of that. When you and I travel, what we eat is limited.
Right.
Particularly if you're a trade show, they got 4 things you can eat.
Yeah.
But there will be things that I'm now aware of.
That's right.
And look, there've been so many blessings, and I'm not making light of how terrible this has been for so many people, because I know that it has. But for a lot of people, there's been a lot of silver lining to the cloud.
It has been. I don't disagree with that. You gotta look for the silver linings, and everything that comes in life. It's not all gonna be good. You gotta find the silver lining. And I found mine. I'm ready. I'm ready for the world to start spinning again. I'm ready for this force of nature to get its foot off the throat of a lot of my friends. And I'm ready for that. I know people. I don't know very many people that are suffering of COVID, the disease.
We don't in Mississippi.
But the cure, quote unquote, is hurting a lot of people.
One of my best friends lives in New Rochelle, New York, which was the first outbreak, first hotspot, and they were actually basically under martial law for a period of time. And it's been interesting to talk to her, because her perspective and our perspective are very different, and they're scared. They live in a very different place than we do. We don't live on top of each other. I don't know a lot of people who've had it. I do know some. I don't have any friends who've died of it. But I have to remind myself when I'm sitting on my front porch in Mayberry that there are people in other places that have a very different reality. There
are, and I pray for them. But the cure is what bothers me. The reaction and the politics and everything else is really hurting people.
Yes.
And I wish I could wish it away.
I do too.
I've got some very close friends that are struggling right now, and but we all are. We don't know what's going to happen when it's normal return. We don't know.
You don't.
But that's just it. You just keep on kicking, man.
But what I try to find myself doing during this time, particularly early on when we really didn't know, is focusing on the things I can control. Trying to be like, I know I can do this today, and this is productive, and do the productive thing I can do, and not try to worry about the things that are out of my control.
That's life and business right there, buddy.
Well,
that's all you can do.
I don't always succeed at that, but that's what I've been trying to do. I've actually been better at that during this time. When the chips are really down, humanity steps up.
Yeah.
I really do believe that.
Yeah, I mean, growing up in the deep South, I've said it since day one. You want to make America great? Show me a crisis. The Cajun Navy comes to mind.
Absolutely. Well, post-Katrina, Mississippi comes to mind. Again, this is not a political thing, but Haley Barbour got on the news every day for 365 days. We didn't fall apart as Mississippians.
No.
We bound together, and we always have.
And as a nation, we really did. I tell you what, you're talking all around it. It's the truth, And I tell you what, all the mess that's going on TV right now, politicians ain't gonna fix it. We're gonna fix it.
And they are fixing it. The last couple days have been way better than they were from the beginning, and I think that's because people in those communities, we're not having a lot of that problem here.
No.
But the people in those communities are saying, hey guys, we have a valid point we're trying to make, and y'all are ruining it. And it's getting better. I don't mean to sound like Pollyanna, but it always will.
Yeah.
And I think it has over the last few days.
People will make it better, not politicians. That's what I see as a cure. For all that's ailing on Fox News right now, whatever channel you watch, is going to be us people communicating and committing ourselves to it being better.
Well, and us having to be so aware. I'm not a big news watcher, but us having to be so aware of the news during the last few months. Kim and I were just talking about this the other day, that that's really been a negative for us, because they're gonna hype everything up on the news. Now we had to watch it during this time period because there was just so much changing. But I'm ready I'm kind of ready to let it slow back down and not watch the news every day and not try.
You ain't lying. You ain't lying.
You know, I think things get better when you let people just love each other.
BC, I appreciate you coming on, man. I love your product. I love your brand. I love what Wren and Ivy represents in the outdoor world. That's what I like. I've said it a million times. I really believe the future of hunting lies in its past. And again, as you articulated so well, it's not the stuff. It's not the product. It's what it represents, and that your brand speaks to me.
Well, that's
it really does.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here. You know, I think most people feel the way we do about that when you get to talking to them, and we all have more in common than we have different, and that needs to be focused on even more so in our hunting community, where we're on the same team. We need to find the ways that we agree, not the ways we disagree.
That's right.
We used to live in a world where we judged a person by the best things about them, not the worst.
Yeah.
Now we seem to live in a world where we find the worst thing about that person, or the worst thing about their brand, or the worst thing about whatever, and that's what we focus on, not the best thing. And I just don't think that's the way to be.
No, it's not. BC, real quick, tell everybody listening how they can get in touch with you.
Oh, sure. We're easy to find. So Wren and Ivy on all the social media platforms. I don't do Twitter, but I don't really think anything I have to say.
Twitter's a madhouse. I don't blame you for not doing that.
But on Instagram and Facebook, you search Wren and Ivy brand, and then wrenandivy.com. And you can email me directly at info@wrenandivy.com.
Wrenandivy.com, folks. Thank y'all for listening. I didn't bring this up during the show. Somehow or other, and I didn't want to throw him off on this interview, somehow or other, BC Rogers and I are related. I'm fixing to find out. Thank y'all for listening. I'll see you next time.